The grand city of Almiron shimmered under the morning sun. Crowds filled the streets, waving flags as golden carriages rolled past. Today was the celebration of King Eric's 10th year on the throne, a man loved by his people for his fairness, courage, and heart. Inside his carriage, King Eric smiled gently, waving to the people who once knew him only as a poor village boy. He had risen from nothing, from dusty shoes and tattered dreams, to lead a nation. But even amid all the glory, something inside him longed for the simplicity of the past, for the faces that once walked beside him when he had nothing. As the procession passed through the old market square, Eric's eyes caught something, or rather someone. Near the fountain, among beggars and street vendors, sat a man slumped against a stone wall. His clothes were torn, his hands blackened by dirt, his eyes dim but strangely familiar. The king's carriage slowed, his heart skipped a beat. That face, though worn by hardship, was one he could never forget. "Stop the carriage," the king commanded softly. The guards exchanged confused looks but obeyed. The music and cheers faded as Eric stepped out, his royal boots clicking on the cobblestone. The beggar looked up, shielding his eyes from the sunlight. "Do you remember me?" Eric asked, his voice trembling. The beggar squinted, confused. Then slowly tears welled up in his eyes. "Eric?" he whispered. "Is it really you?" The king knelt beside him, ignoring the gasps of his guards. "Liam, my old friend." They had grown up together in the village of Brentford, running barefoot through wheat fields, dreaming of becoming great men. Eric had always been the dreamer, and Liam the brave one. When the kingdom fell into war, they promised to never leave each other's side, but fate was cruel. Eric was taken as a servant to a noble family, a twist that would one day open the path to his rise. Liam stayed behind, working odd jobs until a famine swept through their village. Now one sat on a throne. The other begged for crumbs. "Your Majesty," Liam stammered, lowering his gaze. "Please, don't kneel for me. I'm no one now." Eric shook his head. "You were my brother once." "That will never change." Eric stood and turned to his guards. "Bring him to the palace." The guards hesitated, unsure if they'd heard right. But the king's tone left no room for question. That night, the palace servants whispered as a ragged beggar was led through the golden gates. Liam could barely believe it. The marble floors gleamed like mirrors. The chandeliers looked like frozen suns. It felt like another world, one he no longer belonged to. When they reached the dining hall, the king dismissed everyone else. "Sit," he said warmly. Liam froze. "Your Majesty, I can't." "You can," Eric interrupted gently. "You will." And for the first time in years, Liam sat at a table not to beg, but to share a meal. As they ate, Eric asked softly, "What happened, my friend?" Liam looked down. "Life happened," he said bitterly. "After the famine, I lost my family, my home. I tried to work in a city, but without a name or wealth, no one cared. I slept under bridges. Some nights, I wished I hadn't woken up." Eric's throat tightened. The guilt in his chest felt heavy. "And I was here, in this palace, while you suffered." Liam shook his head. "No, my king. You followed your destiny. I am happy just to see you made it." Tears filled Eric's eyes. "No, my destiny means nothing if I forget where I came from, or who helped me believe in it." That night Eric couldn't sleep. He walked the silent halls, thinking of every meal he'd eaten, every warm bed he'd had, knowing his friend had faced hunger and cold. By dawn, he made his decision. When morning came, he summoned his council and said, "From this day forward, Liam of Brentford will be my personal advisor, the voice of the people." The ministers exchanged glances, some even frowned. "Your Majesty," one dared to speak, "he's a beggar, not a scholar." Eric stood tall. "Then let him teach us what hunger feels like. Let him remind us what real courage looks like." The room fell silent. Weeks passed. Liam slowly regained his strength, his confidence, his dignity. He dressed humbly but spoke with quiet wisdom, the kind that only those who have lost everything truly understand. He suggested changes to help the poor, shelters, work programs, fair wages. The king listened. And slowly the kingdom changed. Whenever people asked Eric why he trusted a beggar so deeply, he'd smile and say, because sometimes the poorest man carries the richest heart. Years later, when Liam passed away peacefully, the king ordered that his statue be placed in a royal garden, not in armor, not with gold, but holding out a loaf of bread. On the plaque, the words read, "To my brother in spirit, who reminded a king that greatness means nothing without compassion." And every time the people walked past it, they remembered the day when a king knelt before a beggar, not out of duty, but out of love.